I know it's only Tuesday, but it has already been a long week of Donald Trump. And so I think we deserve a little treat. And it's not just a treat tonight, but a treat for the midterms. Because Donald Trump just had one of his worst nightmares come true in Virginia with the election almost as important as any other since he became president, because it is not just a humiliation tonight, but it locks up a midterm disaster that is on the horizon for Donald Trump. And it is the reason that he's posting in panic. He's melting down. He's saying the sky is falling. All his hopes and dreams are crushed. And in fact, Donald Trump even said that in a phone call that we are going to take a listen to, because he's so sad and it is so great. But before we get into the big news in Virginia, if you haven't been paying attention to the election that they held tonight, that we won tonight, I want you to take a listen to someone who will fill you in on the details, why this election to redistrict in Virginia is so important. That was Barack Obama right here.
Free and fair elections are the cornerstone. Accountability in Washington. Help us chart a better path forward, Virginia. Early voting begins on March 6th. Election day is April 21st. Vote yes, Virginia. To get involved, go to virginiansforfairelections.com.
So I think we understand the stakes. This is a redistricting battle, much like what we saw with Proposition 50 in California. And it was incredibly important that we got it done. More momentum for Democrats, of course, going toe-to-toe with Republican gerrymandering across the country, responding to a fight that they decided to start but have clearly lost. So, really great job on that one, guys. But this map, this 10-to-1 map in Virginia 1, not only shows just how devastating Donald Trump's attacks on federal government employees have been, considering there are so many disproportionately really in Virginia, and that has certainly led to a huge swing in the state, but it sets up in this current moment. If all things were equal, just changing the Virginia maps would mean Democrats would have control of the House. So, and I don't think it's going to go this way, but if Democrats had no pickups in the midterms, but these maps stayed the way that they are, we would have enough seats to hold the House. So, Donald Trump, who is currently the most unpopular president in history, is now facing down very, very difficult math. And it's why he had this breakdown on the phone before we get to that sad, sad little post.
What's going to happen if we lose these elections, the House, and in this case the House, and it's going to be a disaster. If they do this, they're guaranteed to pick up a lot of seats. And everybody knows it's unjust, including them. This is what they're going to be doing with this referendum. If the Democrats, if they get additional House seats, at some point, if they get these additional seats, they're going to be making changes at the federal level.
I think that this should honestly be an ad. This should be an ad. Donald Trump saying that Democrats are going to have the ability to put him in prison. They're going to have the ability to shut everything down. The radical left. Oh no, they're going to take over the country. It's going to be so bad. Put that on a billboard somewhere. Run that nonstop on the radio. Yes, that is what Democrats are going to do. Or at least what Democrats should do. Accountability across the country. Make Donald Trump scared. Make Stephen Miller scared. Put that on a hat. I'll wear it on the show. Make Stephen Miller scared. These people are terrified of the impeachments that are coming. The accountability that is coming. I saw Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari on the House floor today talking about Jared Kushner and all these corrupt dealings. She said what I love to hear. We're going to bring you in. There's going to be subpoenas. You're going to be forced to testify, but accountability doesn't even begin to stop there. It is going to extend into everything. So, of course, Donald Trump is terrified, especially given the result, which is why with the big win, because we did win big in Virginia, and I want to take a look at some of those numbers right here along with this post. Donald Trump is so sad. A big win for Democrats in Virginia, but also across the country, because this is huge news for making sure that Democrats flip the House. 10-1 maps, another loss for Donald Trump. This is a huge victory. More momentum for Democrats. And of course, Donald Trump knew what this meant this morning when he posted, quite frankly, Virginia vote no. And that didn't work out. But to save the country, save your country. Donald Trump says this election is what decides whether or not we save the country. Well, y'all, we did it. We ruined the country. The country is dead and gone. Or at least in Donald Trump's eyes. And that makes me so happy. He knows what this means. Donald Trump knows that this doesn't just mean the Democrats have more seats, and that is important. But it means something that Governor Gavin Newsom first had to worry about and didn't with Proposition 50, which is the appetite for Democrats to start fighting like Republicans always have, right? This is also symbolic in a very important shift in the party. You know, you hear a lot of centrist Dems say stuff along the lines of, it's not about progressive versus centrist right now. It's about, fighters and the people who don't fight, which is like that's right. You can't fight ICE by saying we need more body cams and more training, because I'm a centrist STEM and I'm like, shut the up. Stop it. I don't. That's not true. You fight ICE by abolishing ICE. And that's the progressive position. And if you're not taking the progressive position, you're not actually fighting. This is not only progressive, this is the fighter move, right? So this is what we got to get on board with. This shows that Democrats have the appetite to not go, the norms, we got to follow the norms. We can't be mean. Republicans are going to gerrymander, will strongly worded letter. Gavin Newsom, and I appreciate him for doing this, said, fuck that. Initially, this would not have happened without Gavin Newsom and Prop 50. So however you feel about Newsom, we got to give him his props there. He set the tone. He said, no more strongly worded letters on election rigging. Let's go out and combat this. Let's do redistricting of our own. And I am so glad that Governor Spamberger and Democrats in Virginia said, this is what we need to do. We're not playing around anymore. And we need to take this energy when we take back the House, and especially if we take back the Senate. I'm talking about Democratic Philip President. Get rid of the filibuster. Expand the Supreme Court. They can tell us we're packing it. This is also important, and Donald Trump is talking about maybe getting Justice Alito or Thomas to step down. I know we're pivoting from Virginia a little bit, but this is very important. Getting them to step down is like a little treat to dangle in front of the Republican electorate, saying, you might be mad with my war, but you got to turn out for a Supreme Court justice for another one. That's what he's doing right now. Now, that could backfire because we could have the Democratic Senate, a Democratic Senate flip, Donald Trump not be able to appoint that judge and have a vacancy sitting there for a Democratic presidential candidate to say, you need to elect me. Let's change the nature of this court, maybe bring back some reproductive freedom in this country. But that would also require Democrats in the Senate saying, we are not going to allow Donald Trump to fill this vacancy. There has been many times where we have had 8 people on a court say, you know what, this is just how it's going to stand. And that is a fighter mentality. So that is what California showed. That is what Governor Newsom showed. That is what Virginia has shown. What Governor Spamberger has shown. We need to take that into everything, because we are not going to kumbaya and hugs and kisses our way out of fascism. It's not going to happen. It's going to be fighting, tackling, and breaking the systems of corruption. Which is why, on the topic of the Senate, I want to close with someone. I think y'all maybe have gotten a little annoyed with me for playing too much, but I don't think so, because you love him as much as I do. Senator Jon Ossoff, running one of the most important Senate races out there. He was with Matt last night. You're going to want to hear it all.
The faithless president depicts himself as Christ while he plunges the nation into wars of choice, while he and his family rake in billions from foreign princes, while he plunders our health care to cut taxes for the rich. Meanwhile, rent, power, groceries, and health care have all hit all-time highs this year. This year. Ground beef's up 20% since Trump took office. Coffee, 40%. Health premiums through the roof. And remember, while you pay more for everything, the first family's wealth is growing by billions of dollars. Because they're crooks. And everybody knows it.
I think people across the political spectrum are feeling outrage that while families in Georgia are made to pay more and more for everything, the first family is pocketing vast sums of money from all over the world. You were talking earlier about Jared Kushner. The guy leading our diplomacy in the Middle East is bringing in billions from Middle Eastern princes and sheikhs and going around the region asking for billions more while he conducts nuclear diplomacy on behalf of the country. It's cartoonish, it's grotesque, it's obscene. And I'm hearing, not just from Democrats, but from independents and Republicans, that they are excited and motivated more than ever to impose checks and balances in these midterm elections. But I want to warn people against complacency. This is Georgia. This is the most competitive battleground state in the country. I am the only Democrat running for re-election in a state that Donald Trump won. And something that folks aren't paying enough attention to is national Republicans have vastly more resources than national Democrats right now. I expect the GOP to come in with hundreds of millions of dollars against me. And I'm asking folks across the country to take nothing for granted, to go to electjon.com and support my campaign right now.
That is the type of message that we need. That is the type of guy that we need. Dare I say, presidential material. Now he's got a Senate race to worry about first. We'll talk about that later. But this is what we need right now. Great job, Virginia. Donald Trump is pissed. These are the things I love. We're going to keep on talking about it, calling it out, and fighting. And if you want to support that on this show, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.